What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to talk about the Chicago Bears brand new starting center Drew Dalman. To me, this is a very good signing, and we're going to get into what this guy has flashed on tape. Dalman at 26 years old is one of the best young centers in the NFL. He's one of the best run blockers, arguably the best run blocking center in the NFL, and there's so many good snaps on. Take this one here as a great example of that. You're going to have a defensive lineman here playing the 2-eye technique, and you're going to get an outside zone concept, which means the center has to reach that 2-eye technique. And watch how quickly Dalman gets in front of this guy. He does a phenomenal job being able to cut off the 2-eye technique. He does a really good job flipping the hips. To me, that block right there allows this entire play to work. Without this block by Dalman, the play is not going to pick up the yards it does. And because of Dalman getting to that block, you're going to pick up 20 yards on this one by Bijan Robinson. And also, do not overlook the fact that the cutback option does not come available without that cutoff block by the center. And this is the type of player that the Chicago Bears are bringing in, right? Phenomenal football player when it comes to reach blocking, an elite run blocker as well, just a really good overall center. And I'm excited to get in this guy's tape, man. I want to look at a couple more run reps. Alright, guys, let's go ahead and get into this next snap here. Once again, Dalman's going to reach on the 2-eye technique. And once again, you're going to be able to pick up about 8 yards. And again, it's a really good block by Dalman, who's able to cut off the 2-eye technique and flip the hips. These type of blocks, although some guys make it look normal, is not normal, right? Sometimes you'll have guys like Jason Kelsey or Drew Dalman who are really good reach blockers, and they make this stuff right here look very easy, but in reality, this is a hard thing to do. Most of the time, what ends up happening on these blocks is this guy right here kind of stays within this gap, and then he just chases this backside. At the same time, the center most of the time kind of stays to the left hip of this guy and is not able to actually get in front of him. But occasionally you got guys like Drew Dalman who's able to get in front of these defensive linemen, and he's able to fight through it. He's able to utilize that footwork, flip the hips, and essentially force the guy to go over the top, right? Just a really good rep right here by Dalman. In my opinion, Dalman's one of those guys whose best football is still in front of him. At 26 years old, the guy has a really solid base and foundation. And of course, he wasn't fully healthy this past season. So that'll be another thing he'll have to kind of get back into. Just get fully healthy, be able to kind of recover and go into this next season where you have an entire offseason. Maybe you add a little bit more to that frame. To me, the Chicago Bears have done a phenomenal job this offseason. They've now brought in Joe Thuney, Drew Dalman, and of course Jonah Jackson. And that basically fixes up that interior offensive line. There's a lot of issues over the past couple of seasons. Rather, guys were getting hurt or just not being able to play to what they're getting paid. That should no longer be the case as we kind of go forward, because now you get guys that have proven themselves to be healthy, generally speaking. Of course, Jackson did miss time. For the first time in his career, I should say, this past season. Dalman also did miss a little bit of time, but generally speaking, those guys have both also been fairly healthy over the course of their careers. And now the Bears really revamped that offensive line, and I'm excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do this season. You got another really nice play once again by Dalman. This time it's a little bit different because he has a nose tackle on him as opposed to reaching the 2-eye. One of the things with these nose tackles is they're being taught to 2-gap. Now this guy might not be 2-gapping specifically. You can see he's going to be aligned a little bit to the right of the center, but that makes it just that much more impressive. The nose tackle here is shaded to the right, which means he needs to stay within that gap. As soon as Dalman's going to get in front of him, watch the lane just develop. You're going to see it absolutely just open right underneath that. And you can see Bijan Robinson recognizes the cutback opportunity. The play to the front side is not going to really be available because of the fact that the tight end is going to end up blocking out the defensive end, because the defensive end does hold the block and doesn't necessarily set the outside edge. And you can see with that, the lane kind of opens up underneath that. And Bijan does a really good job being able to hit that to the inside. To me, the Bears really got a good center. This is going to make a world of difference. Being able to have a guy that could flip the field, that could provide that cutback option. And again, it's not just the center. The guards will also have to cut off guys, right? The tackles will have to also cut off guys. But we know the Bears, basically from left guard to right tackle, have basically guys that are Pro Bowl caliber players, right? And of course, Braxton Jones will be the one guy that will have to come into the season and really prove himself. But I also think this is the season the Bears should give him that opportunity to prove himself. It'll be his final year with the Bears as the starter. Of course, that could still flip. You never know what happens in the actual NFL draft. But Braxton Jones has shown enough upside where I'd be okay with the Bears rolling forward with him for one more year. I think there's a ton of upside with Braxton Jones, but he has to go out there and really prove himself to kind of be that guy, right? And the fact that the Bears have brought in a bunch of other guys and really revamped that O-line, to me, this unit has the potential to be a top 5 unit based off of the actual talent that's kind of out there. We've also recognized that Darnell Wright has really taken that step in year 2. And I'm excited to see what this unit does as kind of get into this season. Now, I do want to go ahead and also look at a little bit of Dalman's abilities in pass pro specifically, because I think as a pass blocker, it's going to be one of the key parts of the Bears having success. This is the year that the Bears have to be able to hold up and really keep the quarterback clean, because Caleb Williams just has way too much upside. And without keeping him clean, we're not going to see that upside actually really come together. So let's go ahead and switch focus. Let's get into a little bit of this guy's pass blocking. Now, I would make the argument when it comes to being a starting center in the NFL, pass blocking is a lot different than when you're a guard, and even further different than when you're an offensive tackle. All right, when you're an offensive tackle, you got to play out in space, you got to be quick, but you got to be strong enough to anchor as well. As a center, it's completely different because you're either going to slide right, you're going to slide left, and most of the time it's going to be a double team. Of course, unless you're taking the responsibility of a guard, the way you see on this one here, Matthew Bergeron's going to essentially take 52. Who's lined up to his outside. He's going to let him go, and then they have to process this up to number 51. Initially, the slide is towards Harrison Smith here to the right. Harrison Smith's going to drop off. They're going to quickly process that to 51 and 52. And Dalman's going to do a great job taking 52, and then Bergeron takes 51. But generally speaking, as a center, pass blocking is a lot different, right? The most important part is being able to anchor down within the middle of the pocket. In essence, the most important part of being an NFL center is to be able to anchor down and not allow the pocket to collapse within the inside. Right? The quarterback needs a clean pocket. The offensive tackles have to allow their guys to go upfield. With that, the quarterback has to be able to step up, and it's the center as well as the guard's responsibilities to make sure there's a pocket on the inside. You don't want a quarterback where the pocket is collapsing all around him. And Dalman does a pretty good job with the latch technique, which is he's going to get the right hand into these defensive linemen. So you'll see on this one here, Dalman with the right arm is going to latch on. See it right there. And it's a good job because when a defensive lineman's going to try to shed you and maybe hit you with the move towards the right or to the left, if you have a good latch, you can just mirror him with the feet. And you can see Dalman kind of do that a little bit. Keep an eye on where his feet generally land. Now keep in mind, Bijan Robinson kind of steps on him a little bit. But you can see when the defensive lineman tries to hit him with the move to the right, you can see the feet also go towards that same side. All right. Right about there, you see that movement kind of happen. And to me, that's a really good job by Dalman. Right? He does a nice job being able to latch on, mirror the guy in front of him, just kind of stay in front of it. Now, when it comes to Dalman's technique, the guy plays with really, really good leverage. He generally stays low, and you see that over the course of his tape. He plays with really good footwork as well, and he moves really, really well. You see that on defensive line games and those type of things, where he's able to recognize and process kind of what's happening in front of him. On this one here, he's going to take the 2-eye technique to the right, which is Dalman's left, and he's going to pass it off over to the left. And then with that, he's also going to come back off of that and pick up the other defensive tackle. The movement, the processing, it's just really, really good from Dalman. And this is why the Chicago Bears paid this guy $14 million a year. Ryan Poles understands offensive line talent, and he understands what Dalman brings. And this is a good center, right? And again, center is different than guard and tackle when it comes to pass pro. And Dalman does everything right. Now, again, I do need him to continue to add muscle. He is 26 years old. I do think the Falcons run a completely different scheme than some other teams in the NFL. The Falcons want their offensive linemen to be quick and explosive, and they don't care about the power element of things. I don't know why they do it that way, but that's just the way Dwayne Ledford's done it for years. If you guys look at the stats, they are always the smallest offensive line in terms of weight. So I do hope Dalman can add just a little bit more weight. But again, generally speaking, the movements were really good. You see plays like this where he locks in with this defensive lineman and just straight up shuts him down. He does a really good job making contact right out of his stance, gets the hands to the defensive lineman. Kind of interesting if you look at the feet here. Dalman's going to open up with the right foot after he snaps the football, and the nose tackle is going to slant to the left. So right foot of Dalman's goes back, center goes the opposite way. So Dalman has to kind of switch and change his direction just a little bit. And you see Dalman do a really good job locking in, and he just stays right on top of it. And then he mirrors the defensive lineman as well, and of course that keeps the quarterback clean, and just like that, you're going to pick up about 10 yards. Overall, I really like the fact that the Bears are bringing in Dalman. This guy's an elite run blocker, as we've already talked about. There's so many plays like this. And, I don't want to overlook the fact that this guy is truly, truly elite when it comes to run blocking. You know, I'll criticize Dalman sometimes in pass pro. Although he's generally solid, he does sometimes get pushed back. I'll show you guys a couple of those reps here in a second. But before I show that to you, I want to make it known this guy's an elite run blocker. This is Quinnen Williams. I think he's arguably one of the top 2 or 3 D tackles in the NFL. And Dalman does this to him this quickly. As soon as he snaps the ball, he just gets right in front of him. To me, that's an elite block right there. And he does this on a consistent basis to pretty much any defensive lineman out there. It really does not matter who's out there. This guy just cuts people off. He just gets in front of these guys. And he just does a really, really good job. And his ability to pass guys off and climb, cut guys off front side, backside, it's truly, truly elite. And I'm excited to see what this guy does with the Bears this season. And Dalman does sometimes have losing snaps. It's just little things he has to clean up from a technique perspective. On this one here, he's going to end up just getting outreached by Danielle Hunter. Hunter, obviously a really, really good defensive lineman. But let me just back this up so you guys can see it from the angle here. You're going to see that the center just gets straight up bull rushed. Now again, Danielle Hunter, different type of pass rusher. But sometimes you do see things where it's just not perfect. And I think it's just a little bit of technique issues with Dalman. Rather he doesn't get the hands placed perfectly. Or maybe he leans a little bit after like a bull rush. So here's a good example of that. You're going to get the nose tackle to push and then pull. And Dalman's going to get caught off balance. Now, I'm not 100% sure exactly what happens on this one. It just looks like he thought number 98 did not have that swim move that he had. And the defensive tackle right there just catches him off balance. One more here. Once again, he's going to end up getting beat. Bull rush to the swim move, and number 97 gets over the top. Quarterback does run out of there, which is a good job by the quarterback. But just the little things this guy has to work on. Again, not a huge deal, to be 100% honest, guys. I think the Bears are going to run a heavy, heavy dose of outside zone, inside zone, and then on top of that, play action off of that. And I think there's going to be a lot of jump sets and those type of things from the offensive lineman. So what that means is the offensive lineman will be going out towards the defensive lineman, and that's going to keep these defensive linemen kind of guessing. All right, it's going to make them feel like, hey, this might be a run when in reality it's a pass. By the time they realize it's a pass, the ball will be out, right? Ben Johnson did a really, really good job with the Lions keeping those guys guessing on that defense side of the field. And I think with a guy like Dalman, it's going to just work really well, especially given that he's an elite run blocker, has a really, really good movement, and he's shown a lot of upside already, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. We're obviously covering the Bears on this channel. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.